Lies of P has a lot of problems. Let's take a look at which ones this person mentions.
Lies of P has been one of my most anticipated games of the last year, and I bought the deluxe edition in order to get early access, and I've been playing the game almost non-stop since it went live 2 days ago, and I have
Deluxe edition is something I will never get. Just gonna let you know that.
a lot of thoughts to share about this game, but overall, I've been having a fantastic time with it. The game is very good. The setting is captivating. I'm constantly intrigued by not only the story,
I did like that
quest lines
in the beta.
The world,
I
did.
did.
Love here, and for the most part, I do love it. But as I've been playing, there are some very glaring issues that have come to light that I just feel I have to talk about. On one hand, to make you, the consumer, aware, so that you can expect these shortcomings and know how to adapt to them to make your gameplay experience better, and to also provide feedback to the developers so that they either update these things or know that Souls fans are finding issues with them for their
Well, I do appreciate that. That's very useful.
next installment.
Absolutely.
Before I dive into what the big problem with this game is, let me preface the discussion with a few things. Lies of P was created by the studio NeoWiz, a South Korean developer,
okay.
and one thing to keep in
South
mind
Korea.
is that this is their first attempt at the Souls-like genre. And for their first
Well, they
try,
did a damn
it is
good
very
job.
good one. So even though I'm going to be frequently comparing this game to games like Bloodborne or Elden Ring, it is important to remember that they don't have the decades of experience that From Software does. In addition to that, in order
That's the thing. They're fans, and it did such a good job. Holy crap! For being their first Soulsborne type game, they did a pretty damn good job. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it has some failings with it, but damn, I can't fail them for trying.
understand my criticisms with the game, we need to also understand the intended way to play it. The inspiration for Lies of P's combat is Bloodborne, and it draws many of its core elements from that game. We have a sidestep dodge while locked onto a target, charged R2 heavy attacks, a rally system to regain health after blocking an attack, and get heavy damage from a visceral attack. And the one key purpose behind all these elements in Bloodborne was to stay toe-to-toe in combat, and Lies of P appears to encourage that same playstyle. As I mentioned, one of the main combat features is the rally system, where you can block an attack in order to take chip damage, and then experience a brief window where you can attack the target in order to get that health back. There are also Fable arts, special weapon attacks that can allow you to perform various skills and use a charge of these mini bars beneath your stamina gauge, and these are also charged through attacking targets. We then have your primary healing items.
See, I was never good at that. I tried it in the beta. Holy crap, I'm horrible at Soulsborne games.
When fully consumed, allow you to re-earn another one once again by attacking enemies. And then finally we have the Sekiro-style parry, which can fully deflect attacks, making you take no damage and slightly staggering the enemy. These are all core combat mechanics that you absolutely have to engage with, and all of these encourage an aggressive playstyle.
And I'm not good at any of them.
General player speed. It's no secret that the player moves incredibly slow in Lies of P, and this can very much be felt in combat. When you're trying to counter an enemy or dodge an attack, the player cannot perform actions as fast as the enemies can, which often means that if you get caught by one attack from an enemy, you get pulled into a combo of other attacks without enough recovery time to get yourself out of it. And when some of these major enemies and bosses
that makes it a lot harder. That makes the skill ceiling, because I mean Soulsborne games in general have a huge skill ceiling to begin with, but that makes a skill ceiling almost unattainable to get to the top.
Anywhere from 5 to 10 sequence-long combos, it makes the player feel as though they don't have the tools to compete, which makes the game in turn feel clunky, slow, and unbalanced.
Yeah,
now,
that's one thing I did see. It makes the player
feel as though they don't have the tools. In Lies of P, at least for the first half of the game, they quite literally don't. After you get to the Scrapped Watchman boss and finally defeat him, you unlock a new feature called the P organ. And essentially what this is the player's skill tree. Here you can upgrade your character and unlock new skills. You have things like upgrading the amount of healing items you have, charges to your Fable arts, increased time of enemy stagger, and one that upgrades your dodge. Now in order to unlock these new skills, you have to go into the menu and unlock other upgrades. And these come in many forms. But some of the upgrades that can be found in the sub-menu are very important to making the game feel smooth, such as
well, good that they have a skill tree. I mean, that definitely helps, but holy crap, making you take so long to actually be able to get to it, that can actually mean that a lot of people give up before they even get to that point. A lot of people just will quit before they can get to that point if you make it that hard. That's one of the big issues, I think.
Increased stamina recovery time while attacking enemies. And to purchase these upgrades requires a currency called quartz. I'm not entirely sure all the places you can get quartz, but I've noticed them dropping from mini bosses, and I believe in a chest or two. And after defeating the third boss, I had 2 of these quartz. And in order to unlock one actual skill, it takes 2 quartz. And the skill I immediately unlocked was the ability to chain 2 dodges together. Now the wording when you unlock the ability is that it allows you to perform another dodge in the middle of a first dodge animation, but this isn't quite true. The animation for the first dodge still finishes before you're able to do the second one. What this actually does is remove artificial downtime that's present before you have the skill after a first dodge before you can dodge again. In a game like Bloodborne, that's a feature that the player has immediately when starting the game. Now, as I progressed further through the game and beat more...
Okay, in Bloodborne you have it originally when you start to be able to dodge again. I do remember that. I think even in Elden Ring you have that, where you can dodge several times in a row. But why does Lies of P give you a cooldown for it? That makes it, like I said, that makes the skill ceiling so high that it's unattainable for people like me, who are usually not that great. I mean, I was able to do it in Elden Ring. Of course, you run out of stamina, which is normal. You have to have some kind of, downside to doing that. But why make it have a cooldown? That just makes it worse.
Bosses, thereby unlocking more quartz, I found that there's yet another dodge upgrade further down the skill tree. And what this one allowed me to do was roll out of being stuck on the ground. In this clip here, you can see that my player gets smashed to the ground, and during the animation of getting up, I don't have the ability to control my character. And I'm stuck
there's
in
no
combo of
iframes
hit after hit until I died. And the ability to roll from the ground is yet another basic movement ability in the Soul series and Bloodborne. Now the skill tree continues for a while.
So again, because of the fact they weren't experienced in Bloodborne and Soulsborne-esque games, they added those things to add, I think, artificial difficulty, which, like I said, is going to get people to just quit.
and I've only seen the first 2 movement upgrades. Now, by assuming that this trend continues, by the time we unlock all the upgrades and get to the end of the game, the vast majority of the clunky feeling is going to be gone. So the problem here is that basic movement features that the player needs in order to survive the game are locked behind the skill tree. And since quartz is so rare and hard to find, if a player does not immediately invest in the dodge upgrades, they are at a significant disadvantage, unable to perform movements that are present from the very beginning in many of the game's competitors. So it creates an unnecessary sense that the game is clunky, poorly balanced, and feels like molasses, when in reality the player simply hasn't unlocked that upgrade yet. And the thing is,
I did kind of get that feeling.
But I feel that if I don't unlock the dodge upgrades, the game is going to be much harder than it needs to be. And what makes this much worse is that the player has zero poise whatsoever. Every single hit, no matter from what enemy, will stagger you out of a move. Even a fully charged Fable art can be interrupted from the most basic of attacks.
That is some
and what
BS.
this does is create more downtime in combat, where the player cannot input any controls to the character if they don't have the right upgrade. And there's one more thing that goes along with this. Parry timing feels way too strict in this game. And oftentimes, many of the enemies that have a lot of the long combos lack a sense of rhythm in their movements. What made the parrying in Sekiro so satisfying was that everything had a distinct beat to it. You could parry bosses with a blindfold on simply by the sound alone because you could recognize the cadence. But in Sekiro, the deflect was the primary means of avoiding damage. Now, I don't yet know if there's a skill that upgrades the parry, but at least for the early game, the parry, like the dodge, feels underpowered and underdeveloped. Many attacks hit the player multiple times, so even if you parry the first hit, you'll still get hit again, even during the same animation. And this once again contributes to the game feeling clunky. So here's the issue. Lies of P has a combat system that encourages aggressiveness. The game wants you to stay in the pocket and use all of the abilities at your disposal. But the problem here is that all of these abilities feel disconnected from one another, separated by a stiffness that's only removed through upgrades that are locked behind the skill tree. Basic features that are intuitive to players that have played Souls-likes before, that if were present from the beginning, would not make the game too easy, but would instead make it more smooth.
That's the thing. You've taken it, like he says, you made it into molasses. You've taken the smoothness, the cadence of it. You don't have a cadence. Holy crap. If you don't have a cadence, like, I don't know how people can do parries then. How they can just do parries and just fucking, holy crap. That really does make it, I'm so glad I didn't even start playing this game. Honestly, if it's like that, I mean, Elden Ring was not easy. Elden Ring is the only Soulsborne game I've ever played, to be honest with you. Like, full through, from beginning to end. I played, Bloodborne and I kind of quit. I did those type of things, but Elden Ring is the only game I played all the way throughout, and I did like the fact that at the very least you were given the tools to get out and win. If you didn't, you had to get good. You still had to get good, but you had the tools there. You had a skill ceiling to be able to use them, but the tools were there.
Smooth and thereby more fun. And I say all that because this game is a gym. The more I get into it and the more I unlock, it feels better and better. And had I these abilities from the beginning, it would have alleviated so much frustration that initially felt out of my control as the player. Anyways though guys, that is going to pretty much do it for the video today. I really am having a blast with Lies of P, and I do feel it's one of the best Souls-likes we've ever gotten. But I just felt like I had to come on here and talk about these issues to hopefully provide some feedback, as well as awareness to players that are going to be jumping into this game for the first time when it officially releases on Tuesday. But if you're playing...
That is fully fair. And of course, it is Tuesday today, and it has come out, so... I think it even came out yesterday for like the deluxe people and stuff like that. So that is very valid, and it is always good to do criticisms. Even if it was Miyazaki's game, if it was clunky, it's good to criticize. Why? That's how people grow. That's how the next game is better, or how they do a patch and this game it becomes good. I mean, they did patches where they buffed and nerfed things in Elden Ring. I beat Elden Ring before the debuffs, before the nerfs. Same thing with Armored Core. I beat Armored Core 6 before the nerfs to Baltus and a lot of the big guys. I didn't feel it was overly difficult because I had a lot of the tools to start off with in the Soulsborne-esque games, And this one seems to not have that, which I can definitely understand why people would be frustrated here. I can definitely understand why he would be frustrated because he seems to be someone who loves Soulsborne games, but this one has, it's a diamond in the rough. It's a treasure. But it's a very rough cut. It's very rough right now. And it shows from what he's saying. And also, I mean, it makes sense. It's their first Soulsborne game, so they kind of put what they thought a Soulsborne game should be. But like I said, they don't give you a lot of the tools that you need to even start off with. They handicap you before you even get started, which is not the best. I'll leave it at that because I'm not a perfect pro at any of that kind of stuff. And that's why I'm watching him, because I wanted to see what kind of things he thought were bad about it, and then give my own take based on what I've played. Thank you so much. Of course, I love hearing your comments down below. Did I get it fully wrong? Do you agree with me? Do you think everything I said is a crock of shit? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. This is the Mad Salvi. Like and subscribe and all of that crazy shit that YouTube makes you do. Bye-bye!